Good morning and welcome everybody. This is our April 10th regular meeting of the Mason County Commission. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Kathy Haig, would you do us the honor of reading this?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Shooting.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Thank you. Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Item number 4.1, correspondence.
Randall Lewis, James Sims, and Diane McLean sent in applications for the Mason County Citizens Advisory Budget Committee. Janine Robinson sent in an application for Parks and Trail Advisory Board. Mason County Fire Districts 9 and 16 sent in an announcement regarding a proposed merger to become West Mason Fire and Rescue. Tristan Goldsby sent in comments regarding the jail. And the State of Washington Department of Social and Health Services sent in a letter regarding new requirements related to the distribution and administration of the criminal justice treatment account.
Excellent. Item number 4.2, news release, Mason County Community Services, one-day closure. Dave? No?
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris
Good morning.
Carlson, Department Center Manager. Mason County's Community Services one-day closure will be April 25th of this year for spring. And Mason County's Community Service Department located in Building 8 at 615 West Alder Street and 415 North 6th Street will be closed for business April 25th. This is a Wednesday. The department's biannual staff training will be conducted at the County Public Works Building. These trainings are essential for meeting local, state, and federal standards. On-site business operations for community services, consisting of environmental health, community health, vital statistics, fire marshal, planning, building, and permit assistance center will return the following Thursday, April 26, 18. If you have any questions, contact community services at 360-427-9670, extension 352, or alternatively extension 400. Belfair office 360-275-4467, Alma 360-482-4269.
Thank you. Item number 4.3, proclamation, Mason County Shellfish Week. Commissioner Drexler.
April 15th to the 21st is Washington State Shellfish Week, and I thought it would be appropriate for Mason County to declare that same week Shellfish Week for Mason County. Whereas the people in Mason County have been gathering and building culture around shellfish resources for thousands of years, and whereas shellfish are a cultural cornerstone in Mason County, providing opportunities for ceremonial and subsistence harvest for Native American tribes, providing shellfish tourism opportunities, and enhancing the quality of life for county residents. And whereas cultivation of oysters and other shellfish in Mason County has been celebrated for over 30 years through the county's largest festival, Oyster Fest, and now the Hamma Hamma Oyster-Rama. And whereas shellfish are integral to healthy marine ecosystems by stabilizing marine sediments and shorelines, improving water quality and clarity through biofiltration, and providing structural habitat for other nearshore and marine organisms. And whereas 25,390 acres of tidelands in Mason County are classified by Washington State Department of Health as shellfish growing areas, ranking 6th in Washington State. And whereas economic analysis by the Pacific Shellfish Institute conservatively estimates aquaculture employs 370 people in Mason County, earning $10.6 million in wages, while $4,988 is spent in wages, supplies, capital, and other expenditures per acre of shellfish farmed. Whereas shorelines in the South Sound and Hood Canal are exceptionally productive for aquaculture, producing 12.2 million pounds of clams, oysters, and mussels, worth $64.5 million, 52% of total shellfish production in Washington State. And whereas healthy shellfish resources strengthen and sustain resilient communities through sustainable employment and locally grown seafood for the future. And whereas Washington State Governor Jay Inslee proclaimed April 15th through the 21st, 2018 as Washington Shellfish Week, Now therefore, the Mason County Board of Commissioners join Washington State in honoring shellfish in the aquaculture industry in Mason County, and do hereby proclaim April 15th through the 21st, 2018 as Mason County Shellfish Week, and urge county residents to celebrate the mighty mollusk and its significant impact on our county. Special Shellfish Week events are listed on the events page at explorehoodcanal.com. And in honor of Shellfish Week, here's my gooey duck.
Whenever you hear the term mighty mollusk, you think of a little fighting.
They do. They fight hard to stay alive.
Okay, next up is PUD1 expansion update with a very special guest who's also going to be the chair of the EDC next round here, Kristen Massler. Come and visit us more often, we'll give you even better ones.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kristen Masteller, Mason County PUD number 1. I know you guys fielded a bunch of phone calls back when Thurston County PUD took over as a larger acquisition, several Mason County water systems from H&R. Is it Waterworks? H&R Waterworks, they're a private, I can't remember their name.
I don't either.
Private water purveyor.
Yeah.
So there was some concern from the Mason County residents that weren't really sure, I think the acquisition happened without a ton of outreach to them initially, and then they weren't sure why they were being served by Thurston County PUD when they had a water operating PUD in their county. So we got phone calls, you got phone calls, I know you attended, some of you attended their public hearings, so I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at with the acquisition of those systems. So we're in the process of reviewing the agreement with Thurston PUD. Our intent hopefully is to have it executed in our board meeting in May. So we'll be purchasing 32 systems, I believe is what it was, 32 water systems from Thurston County PUD. The majority of them are on the south end, kind of in the Shelton area. There's several that are up in the Belfair, Allen, Pickering area. And then there's one way up on the Mason-Jefferson line that's called Hammer Ridge. So that's the northernmost system. And so we have started our outreach. We've sent new customer packets to everybody that was on the list that we got from Thurston PUD. We're holding 3 public informational hearings for those folks. The first one's going to be a daytime meeting in conjunction with our board meeting on May 1st at 1 p.m. at the PUD office. And then for the folks that can't attend during the day, we also are holding 2 evening meetings. One of them is going to be May 29th, I believe, at Mason County PUD number 3, Johns Prairie Auditorium at 6 p.m. And then we also got Pioneer School District to graciously lend us the use of their commons facility. So we'll be holding one there on the 31st at 6 p.m. So the point is basically to let these folks know you're transitioning to Mason PUD number 1. You had your short little stay with Thurston PUD, but the goal is by July 1st that they would all be customers served by our PUD. And so it's kind of our PUD welcome tour. We're going around the county saying this is who we are. They can meet our commissioners, they can meet our staff, they can meet some of our water employees, and then have the opportunity to ask questions about our business. I did a rate comparison. I'm sorry I should have brought more of these. I'll hand this off to you guys. I did kind of a rate analysis breakdown for them because I know that rates were also an issue with several of those folks. Thurston County PUD has an in-county rate and an out-of-county rate, and so of course our folks are being charged the higher county out-of-county rate. And so if you were to look basically at the monthly basic charges, we're a little bit higher than Thurston County PUD is. But Thurston PUD starts charging as soon as you turn the faucet on. And so we allow 400 cubic feet in our base charge. So once you start any kind of usage of the water, you'll see that scale tends to tip the other way, and then our rates tend to be lower. So I did some rate comparisons for basic charge, and then I think 400 feet, 800 feet, and 1,200 cubic feet. And they'll have a little bit of rate relief there from us. It is still a sticker shock for folks that are used to being part of a private organization with a huge economy of scale, and they have a really low basic charge, to coming to a PUD where we tend to have higher basic charges because we provide our services at cost. And I can't speak to H&R's business model, but one of the things that we tout at our PUD is that what you're paying for is 24/7 round-the-clock reliable, safe utility services. So if you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and turn your faucet on for a glass of water and it doesn't work, we're going to have a tech out to you probably within the hour, figuring out what the breakdown is, where the issue is, and we're repairing it. We don't go home until it's repaired. And so that's the kind of round-the-clock service and reliability that you're getting with a public utility district. Also, kind of from an economic development standpoint, our professional engineer, who also is our water operations director, she left, boy, has it been a year already? She left the end of 2016, I believe, to work for the state. So we've been we've been engaging with our engineering firm to do a lot of the water system plan and compliance and regulatory stuff for us. Well, we actually promoted our water engineering tech into a water resource coordinator position, and we're going to be backfilling her position, which is going to be bringing the FTE on. And then once we see how the numbers kind of play out with all the new systems that we're taking on, there's a strong probability that we'll be hiring a new water tech too. So that'll be another FTE added to our business, added to Mason County, which is great. We also went out for an RFP for a water system loan, and I can announce it today. Heritage Bank in Shelton won that RFP. So, you know, that's again local dollars being used here. Being able to utilize one of our local banks for that is pretty great. So it's having a ripple effect for Mason County PUD1 and Mason County as a whole, which is pretty positive, I think. So I'm hoping that you know, we heard from a lot of the water system customers. They said, we don't care if your rates are higher, we want you to serve us. And so I'm hoping that that is how a lot of them feel, that they don't care, they just want Mason County PUD1 to be their water purveyor. So that's about all I have. Do you have questions for me?
Question or two,
Go ahead.
yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for stepping up on this. So 32 systems is how many?
Mhm.
How many were acquired by Thurston?
As part of their whole deal, I don't know.
Okay,
the
that's fine.
number. Yeah.
And are the 32 systems, are they all metered?
Yes. Yep.
Lucky you.
I know. They're in excellent shape. They've been really well taken care of. H&R did a great job, and I know when Thurston acquired them, they acquired some of their employees as well. So we got to sit down with the general manager from Thurston PUD, and then the superintendent who'd been managing all these systems through H&R, and they've just really done an outstanding job. They're really well-maintained systems.
And I assume the loan was to acquire these systems?
Part of that we did, it's a $3 million loan. It's just over $1.5 million, or close to $1.5 million, maybe not quite that much, to acquire these actual systems, and then the rest of it is there. We have a lot of infrastructure projects that we need to be working on. We operate, because we are at cost, we operate with really narrow operating margins every year, just enough to kind of put some money aside for, you know, pipe and pump replacement, but we don't have large coffers that we can dip into. So this money is going to help. We have some folks, especially in the Union area, Highland Park, that area, that have lots they've been trying to connect for years, and we haven't been able to because we haven't been able to afford the system upgrades that the Department of Health requires to allow those lots to connect. So what we're hoping is to provide some relief to those property owners who either want to build or they want to sell, because as you know, water means everything. Your property's not worth a whole lot if you don't have access to water.
Well, I commend the PUD1 for the public outreach. That's amazing, and I'm astounded how quickly this all happened.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
32 systems you had to inspect and look over and
Yeah.
see the performance. That's
Yeah.
good work.
Darren Hall, our operations director, he and his crew have just hit the ground running and have done a really great job doing the inventory. They've physically gone out and done an inventory of the systems and noted some things. But yeah, everything's metered. That's why we're moving now, because you can't just take over on July 1st and say, okay, well, then we'll get your bills figured out, and then so we sent out customer cards, we sent out all kinds of information. My goal, what I told our general manager, is if we don't have a lot of people attend these meetings, then I did my job, because we got them all on the front end with as much information as they need. But we're still there, available to the public if they need us.
Commissioner, should you have anything you want?
No, thank you, appreciate it.
So I attended those meetings as well, and if you remember, tell me if I'm not mistaken, didn't they say that the rates, they were actually purposely chose to change the rate back and held it for a year or so? So you may be comparing to a rate that is now, but they were intending on bringing that up to a different rate that they had already pre-approved
It's
before.
likely.
Yeah, that's what they told us at that meeting.
Yeah, it was gonna go up.
So,
Yeah.
so you're less than you think in comparison to what was gonna happen there. But most everybody we talked to were supportive of the idea of you guys stepping in, and we're hoping that you would. So great work, I'm glad you guys did.
And the
Yeah, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, 400 cubic feet is generous.
Yeah, and we're one of the few utilities in the PUD world that do that allow the 400 cubic feet of usage for that. So we're hoping that they see that little bit of rate relief there. I do have to say there's a caveat to that. We're undergoing cost of service analyses right now for both our power and water businesses. And the power one, I want to say not the two Tuesdays, it's not today's meeting, it's our next meeting. We're gonna have the presentation from our consultants on the electric cost of service, but we will be undergoing one for water. And there is a possibility that those rates will change as our commission looks out over the next 5, 10, 15 years. But at today's rates, as much as I could do apples to apples, that's where we're sitting. And I didn't include any other fees or anything that Thurston County might have, but I just tried to do it where it was as easy as possible to compare.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you guys have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I'm gonna head back to work.
All right, next up is item number 4.5, which is the Timberland Library Report. And because I just explained when you come and see us often, we will make it even more grandiose. I want to point out that Cheryl Haywood, since the day she walked in this door, has made a huge impact on the actual hands-on local usage of that library and all the systems that you provide us. Each time the stack of new stuff and stuff they're doing gets thicker and thicker each and every time, so she has changed it exponentially, the hands-on and the touch on our local community, so.
Thank you, I
welcome,
appreciate
Cheryl.
that. Thank you. Good morning. And happy National Library Workers' Day. That's today. And this week is National Library Week as well. So before I get started with the highlights of last year and some of the highlights of what we're working on this year, I'd like to introduce some of the staff who are here today, and of course, your new trustee from Mason County. Good morning, Brenda Hershey.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for serving.
I'm Donna Fetter, and I am the manager of the Shelton and Hoodsport Timberland Libraries.
I'm Allison Grubbs, I am the public services manager.
So 2017 was an exceptional year of growth for Timberland Regional Library as we continued to serve our communities in new and innovative ways. So I'm just going to talk about a few of the highlights right now. One of them is the MyTRL e-library card program, and I think you've heard me talk about that one before. The MyTRL is an e-number, not a full physical, like it's not a full card, for K-12 students to check out, to go online to get help for homework help using our online services. So now we have students signed up from Gravity and North Mason School District, and we have about 6 to 8 across. We have actually 46 school districts in the 5-county region. We have about 8 school districts up and running live right now, and we are working right now with the Shelton School District as well. So we're working as fast as we can. There's a lot of technical work behind the scenes with ESD 113 to do that. Another exciting pilot that we worked on last year is called Explore Timberland, which brings books to places where people frequent in communities, such as laundromats, doctors' offices, and daycares. So these are books that we have taken out of the collection for different reasons, and instead of repurposing them in other ways through book sales or whatever, we are putting them into boxes and putting them into laundromats, like I just said. So the laundromat in the Shelton Laundry is the one right now that we have these boxes, and people can come in and take the books and keep them and don't want them back. We also introduced the Microsoft Office Specialist Certification test sites. So we have one library in each county where we offer that service. This is a service that we work with the state library. They provide a $100 free voucher for the person taking the test. We know that this is like the 3rd top most requested skill in any employment. And so the Microsoft Office Special Certification test site in Mason County is at the North Mason Timberland Library. Now, are you doing it too in Shelton, or just?
I can. I'm in charge of the project,
Yes.
so we can bring it to Shelton pretty easily. We just need to get and add it as a test site.
So this is a big deal because the only place you can take the test prior to last fall, prior to our introduction of it, was going to Tumwater. So if you lived in Ocean Park or Belfair, you had to go into Olympia or Tumwater to take the test. So this is a big deal.
Thank you.
And then the fourth highlight from last year is great news, provisional acceptance as a connection site for WorkSource. So 27 libraries are now part of the WorkSource system. Another big deal for job seekers and for employers. We also learned about the impact library services have on the communities we serve. Build a Better World was the theme of the summer reading program, Timberland's largest program, which ran June 1st to August 31st of last year. Families were treated to comedy acts and live music and magic shows and a program called WonderWorks, which provided activities that built math, science, and creative thinking skills. Participants also attended the Hour of Code to learn coding basics. This was the first year the program was offered online, enabling children and teens who were not able to get to a library to still sign up and earn prizes for completing activities. This was also the first year adults could sign up and participate. Over 32,000 children and teens attended to over 1,000 events. So this is the important part here, because now we're looking at outcomes, not outputs. So of the parents or caregivers surveyed, 92% reported their child maintained or increased their reading skills, and 65% reported they use the library more often.
92%.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So also last year, another highlight was Reina Grande. She was the author for our Timberland Reads Together. She was the featured author last October, speaking about her early life and family struggles at 8 events, including speaking with students at Shelton High School. Library manager Donna Federin wrote, "Many students had read the book in as little as 3 days, and some were saying, 'This is my story too.' A lot of those students read Reina's book, The Distance Between Us, as a mirror. Ms. Grande was so taken with the amount of questions, including, how did you feel when you crossed the border? Did you ever feel like giving up? Is your pain like my pain?" Donna wrote, "It was so powerful to be an observer in that room, and I hope that the answer she gave about feeling like giving up will stick with those students. She told them that she feels like giving up every day, and that's what it means to be human. You must find the energy to keep trying." In addition to these initiatives and programs offered during 2017, many of our staff continue to serve in leadership roles at the local, regional, state, and national levels, be it in library or community-based organizations. These connections have resulted in Timberland emerging as a library district that educational, community, and business organizations are turning to partner with, as we share our vision for healthy and productive communities as articulated in our mission statement. Timberland invites discovery and interaction with our vibrant collection, services, and programs for learning, enrichment, and enjoyment for people of all ages in our diverse communities. So if you take a look at your colorful and engaging Explore, Discover, Connect 2017 annual report, which looks like a picture book, and there are copies for people in the audience, you will see examples of people of all ages exploring, discovering, and connecting. Last year we had 5 cons for teenagers. We also had the district-wide teen area refresh, where we put in $100,000 to refresh the teen areas in the 27 libraries. We have teen library councils. We also had a haunted house that the teams put together in Centralia. We started to offer birding backpacks, and we also started to offer online Washington State legal forms. We remodeled the Hoodsport Timberland Library. We refreshed the Centralia's early childhood area. We also worked with the city of Elma to install a new carpet and updated the teen area, and we started selling intercity transit bus passes in the Thurston County libraries. So in 2017, Timberland provided over 58,000 new library cards to kids, teens, and adults in our 5-county service area. While use of Timberland's Overdrive online catalog, this is the e-books and the downloadable audiobooks, rose more than 100,000 checkouts. Over 2,500 events were held at our 27 community libraries, and patrons checked out 3.6 million items. Our libraries were very busy places, as 420,000 computer sessions were conducted, along with 2.2 million Wi-Fi sessions. So, in terms of Mason County, the physical checkouts decreased slightly by 7%, However, the overdrive checkouts increased by 20%. And there was a 33% increase of library cards issued in Mason County. 3,659 people got library cards. Timberland continues to be careful in managing our budget to be fiscally responsible stewards of the public's resources. We monitor any changes in revenue, including timber revenue, and the potential impact of the Department of Natural Resources Marbled Murrelet Long-Term Conservation Strategy and the Sustainable Harvest Calculation. We have had to make difficult financial decisions in 2017, such as letting go of Freegal, which is a downloadable music service, and Hoopla, similar to Netflix, and yet we were able to, due to a lesser expense, take on new subscriptions to online learning courses, lynda.com and Universal Class. You also have in your packet a copy of the 2018 highlights, which looks like this wagon wheel here. And I just want to point out a few of them. This is the year that Timberland Regional Library celebrates 50 years in our 27 communities. And so we're asking you to hold the date, Saturday, June 30th, to celebrate with us in all of our libraries. Also this year, we just signed a memo of understanding with the State Library, where we are offering a service to inmates who are being released library cards. So we know that there are 700 inmates who get released on average per year in our 5-county area. So this is a big deal for this type of service. We also, in the next few months, will be unveiling a new website redesign, so you'll be seeing a different look to trl.org. Last fall, the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges approached us and wanted to partner with us to offer High School 21 Plus on Chromebooks to students who are over 21 years old who don't have a high school degree. So we know across the state there's 600,000 people over the age of 21 who don't have a high school degree, and in this 5-county area there's 40,000 people. So we're partnering with like I said, the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges, as well as the 5 community colleges in the 5-county area, or 4 rather, to hopefully get this off the ground by September of this year. We just opened last week our kiosk in Hawks Prairie in Lacey. This is a really cool location. It's an e-bike, so electric bike and book for us to, people can go pick up their items and get coffee at the same time. So that's at the Pedal Cafe and Kiosk in Hawks Prairie. We are going to continue this year working with Pacific Mountain WorkSource on becoming a connection site and to fully integrate into the WorkSource delivery system. And now I want to mention too that this year it's the North Mason Timberland Library, which is up in Belfair. Its 20th anniversary is this year. I also want to mention that at the Shelton Timberland Library and the Hoquiam Timberland Library until July 15th of this summer, we are partnering with the State Library to offer to the public experiences, to get experience with virtual reality and Oculus virtual reality. So we're very excited about that. The State Library is partnering with the iSchool researchers. iSchool is the library school at UW, to see what kind of impact it has on learning. So, and we'll be sharing the results with you when we get that. I also wanted to mention that we are starting to sell Mason Transit bus passes as of last week, and I have been appointed to the West Sound STEM network for the northern half of this county. So I represent the north part of this county on the West Sound STEM, which is north in Bremerton and Kitsap. And then, of course, I'm sure you've heard the good news that Shelton Timberland Library, the city of Shelton, received $288,000 from the state capital budget to fix the building and so on, to do some major repairs. And I also wanted to mention that Donna has put together a slew of programs that the Friends of the Shelton Library have applied through the Skookum Rotary and received $1,000 to put on 4 upcoming programs on wellness and healing, and you can learn more about that at trl.org, or you can ask Donna about that. And so one of them is on everyday resiliency, self-hypnosis for relaxation, and self-defense basics. So at this point, I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity to share with you the highlights from last year, some of the highlights of what we're working on this year, and to thank the 314 staff and our incredible staff and our incredible board for working so hard to meet the needs of the close to 500,000 people in our 5-county region. Do you have any questions? I know!
It's actually, you see what I was talking about, it's actually a comment, you realize when I first started this job, your predecessors, I think it was 2 back, wasn't it? When first, literally like 3 minutes and we were done, so.
Yeah, no, there's so much, and that's just
Times have
like.
changed.
Yes.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
It's not that important, but when you do the remodel with the monies appropriated to the Shelton Library,
Yes.
will you open the deck out for people to go on to?
I think that's the plan. I mean, I would imagine that that's the goal of that right now.
Good. I've always wanted to go out on that deck.
Yeah.
If you come by, I will give you a time.
Well, I hear it's dangerous.
I know the deck is actually like structurally part of the building, so they have to redo that deck, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope it happens.
The rain has gotten to it. It's a little more.
The one downside with the organization is you've brought in so many different ways for people to better their lives and work
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
It's just, still we're shy in finding ways to get that information out to them.
Yes.
Because, even us who are involved can't keep up with how many different opportunities there are there. That's why I actually read your stuff every time you bring it to remind me of what you have so I can explain it to others.
I appreciate that, because that's one of our biggest challenges, is that people don't understand necessarily, and even people who have been using us in one way, don't necessarily fully understand the breadth and the depth of the resources we have that can help you be as successful as you want to be in anything you want to do.
Yeah.
And so the more you hear it and the more other elected officials hear it, the more you can share that. And then the word, hopefully, it's starting to happen, that momentum is starting to happen and will continue, especially with WorkSource and especially with the MyTRL initiative. We're just trying to interweave in a deeper way our services so that people understand that Timberland Regional Library is their backbone to lifelong learning. It's a very exciting time to be a
They think of it more
library.
of an educational tool, and they don't realize you're actually an educational hub. You
Yes.
guys have become a place where you actually get the education and can get certified through it.
Yes,
People wouldn't realize that. We have to find a way to get that out.
yes.
And the kids love your programs.
Yes, and the programs are awesome. The programs are really fun, yes. So thank you again.
I just want to say
Yes.
real quickly too, Timberland has been a great partner to me this year. Appreciate having a chance to sit down with Donna and get out on the deck and take a look at some of those issues. But also, I've been having mobile office hours and in my district, and the Hoodsport Library has been a very gracious and willing host. And so I appreciate the partnership that I have with Timberland in making those happen and giving people not only access to a wonderful resource in the library, but the chance to meet with me and talk about their concerns and priorities as well. So thank you.
That's great, that's great. And I do understand too, just to let everybody know that with the internet that we offer, people get 100 free pages of printouts a week. And that they can, with their own device, they can print directly to the printer through our software, and they can queue it up 24 hours in advance. So if you know you're coming by Hoodsport at noon the next day, you can queue up a printout today for tomorrow, and it'll be ready for you when you get there.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to see you.
See you in the fall.
Is there any further correspondence, organizational business to come before this body? Hearing none, we will move over to item number 5, which is our open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission in regards to items that are not on the agenda. Again, if they are on the agenda, we would ask that you wait until it comes up. You'll be given an opportunity at that time to ask questions and or testify if you'd like. But if it's not on the agenda and you'd like to speak to the commission, this will be your opportunity to do that. What I will do is I will ask you to raise your hand. I will recognize you. You'll be asked to come up here. We would appreciate if you give us your name and perhaps where you're from. But remember, 5 minutes total, and there may be more people that would like to speak because there's only 15 minutes total for everybody, so please keep it brief. With that being said, is there anybody who would like to speak? Yes.
Yeah.
Please come up here and
I'm not sure if this is on the agenda, some aspects.
Oh.
Is the, we have a request about the comment period for the biosludge.
it is not on the agenda.
So really don't like speaking in public. So,
What was your name, please?
Jeffrey Dennison
Jeffrey.
and Shorecrest. And I wrote this just a minute ago, and I
Okay.
can't exactly see my own writing, so bear with me. So my request here is that the comment period for the determination of non-significance be extended. That comment period I know was extended from last Friday until this Thursday. And I've requested also, I sent an email to Cal Rowland yesterday making the same request, and I thought I'd ask you all here as well. The first public notice, at least, well, not, I'm sure that there was a notice in the legals, but the first that I believe the public was actually became aware of this project at all was in Thursday's Journal, in the covered article, which appeared to me at least to trigger quite some alarm from many, many people throughout the county. And I think that there's many people that would like to be involved in this comment process. The DNS appears to me to be a defective line name for that. The information that was published in the paper was wrong. I stated that the comment period, the paper came out Thursday, and it stated that the comment period ended Friday, which I was told by Ecology was the original deadline, but that had been extended to this Thursday. But the problem is that the public is now mostly believing that the comment period is over. So what I'm asking is that because of this mistake and because of the high amount of interest in the county and concern about the long-term impacts, which are not going to be evaluated under DNS, that the comment period is extended until the end of the month, April 30th. Again, I understand that probably the legals notification, which nobody saw or nobody knew to even look for. I understand that that's probably legally sufficient, but I do not think that that is fair and reasonable to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on an issue not on the agenda?
Good morning. The theme for today's address to the Mason County Board of Commissioners would probably be, does history repeat itself? Today I'm going to read to you the words that I read back in March 13th, 1971. They seem to come back strong in today's world. In this reading are the words tired, poor, and homeless. So now, 47 years later, I can attest to the fact that these words come back strong in my everyday life, so I'll share this with you today. The poem is The New Colossus, a poem by Emma Lazarus, which is engraved on the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty. I read it in a speech tournament in Bellarmine back on March 13, 1971. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, with mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That's what I read back then. Nowadays, the issue of poverty in the city of Shelton goes beyond the city. It is a county problem. It is a port problem. It is a community problem. We ask that the city commissioners share the Poverty Task Force report with Mason County and the Port of Shelton commissioners, elected representatives and agencies at state and federal level, and local organizations such as Shelton Mason Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Council, EDC of Mason County. Nonetheless, the City of Shelton commissioners have the opportunity to take a leadership role in efforts to address poverty in our county. Our first comprehensive recommendation is that an ongoing citizen poverty committee be created that works in conjunction with local leadership to address the viability of these recommendations and determines the process for implementing them. To keep this issue at the forefront, we recommend that the Commission receive monthly updates on the progress of the implementation of this Poverty Task Force recommendations. Our second comprehensive recommendation is regarding the city's decision-making process. We recommend the city consider the potential unintended consequences on people experiencing poverty when the city makes decisions. The City Commission has an extremely important responsibility to ensure these recommendations are pursued. Ultimately, readers of the City of Shelton Poverty Task Force report are encouraged to ask three main questions. Can we afford not to act? Are you engaged? And is there some element of the mitigation process that you can implement? Also, it is understood the city likely does not have the financial resources required to address many of the needs presented by the task force. However, the city, particularly its elected officials, can provide leadership in forwarding the task force recommendations and providing opportunities to create partnerships with various agencies and organizations working towards mutual objectives. In addition, the city leaders can use their position and influence to seek financial and other assistance in implementing these recommendations through conversations with other county, state, and federal representatives. In a private letter that I wrote to Sean Newman, Newman Law, in August of 2017, upon completion of my 3 years term of service with the Poverty Advisory Team, I wrote the following words to Mr. Newman. My name is Charles Orfman. I am homeless in the city of Shelton, Washington. Myself and others made an appearance at a public hearing regarding a tent city ordinance. Please find a link to the commission meeting below. At the 21:30 mark of the meeting, Shelton Mayor Gary Quantz begins an introduction in which he establishes and invokes a no clapping rule. I firmly believe this is a violation of the freedom of speech or the freedom of expression. The State of the Union address allows for applause to show support. Would you be willing to review this video and advise accordingly? In my non-expert opinion, I think the mayor is guilty of limiting constitutional guaranteed freedom of speech. I'd appreciate a professional opinion. Mr. Newman writes, thank you, Charles, for your email. Open Public Meetings Act and public agencies' broad authority control meetings and does not require public comment unless otherwise required by law. For example, the adoption of an ordinance. This issue recently came up with protesters before the Olympia City Council, so I think it is unlikely that a court would find the no clapping rule violates freedom of speech. In the second paragraph I wrote to Mr. Newman, I wrote, Mr. Newman, Mason County is plagued by poverty and homelessness. I have spent 3 years working with the City of Shelton as a member of the Shelton Poverty Advisory Team to implement the recommendations of the Poverty Task Force, which completed its work in the fall of 2013. We were charged with the duty of modifying the tent camping ordinance to bring it into compliance with the RCW. Yet in spite of everyone's best efforts, there has been no tent city and no positive changes or improvements in the quality of life for marginalized citizens in our community. Further oppression of the oppressed is not acceptable. Also on the video preceding the incident in question is the testimony of Mr. T. Goins. He represented the city in the form of staff support for the Poverty Task Force and the advisory team. Mr. Goins is no longer employed with the city. His report indicates there is a serious need to make changes and lives are at risk. As for the homeless issue in Mason County and Shelton and Mason County, perhaps Mr. Goins' report could be used to communicate the need to state officials, including the governor's office. I understand his wife works with homeless advocates, including author Richard Lemieux, who authored the book Breakfast with Sally. I've read it. I could have written it myself, but I have other decisions. There's a better way we can approach this. I'm going to take a little time off. I understand in talking to Commissioner Olson, former Commissioner Mike Olson yesterday, that there will be a recall. The decision was made yesterday afternoon, so I'm going to hold out in the wings, wait till the dust settles down at the commission meeting, till the city commission / council gets all straightened out and everything gets through. In the meantime, I'll pay a visit to my commissioners here occasionally to keep you folks abreast on what's going on. Dissatisfied? Yeah, I am. I can do better. And I think getting the city out from underneath the heel of oppression is the right idea. I'm not sure with that I agree with the city council decision, solution by dilution. I think that Drew McCune had the idea, and that would be attrition by submission. But the citizens will decide. We'll see what happens with future leadership. Thank you very much for your time, Commissioner.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on an issue that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward. Item number 6, adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda as presented. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the March 19th, 2018 briefing minutes and the March 27th, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the March 19th, 2018 briefing minutes and the March 27th, 2018 regular meeting minutes. Any changes or additions?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 8, approval of our action agenda. All items listed under the action agenda may be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or citizen requests the item be removed from the action agenda and considered as a separate item. We will take the time and we will read each one of the items to the public, and at that time you'll be given an opportunity to ask a question that may help you to decide whether or not to have it taken off for a separate vote, or at that point you can also just have it taken off for a separate vote. With that being said, Commissioner Drexler, would you read item number 8.1, please? Commissioner Schutte, I'll read 8.2 through 8.5 if you would read 8.6 through 8.10.
Mr. Chair, item 8.1, approval to set a public hearing on May 1st, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the following. Supplemental request, $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from North Mason School District for School Resource Officer. $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for salaries and benefits, patrol, overtime. $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from the Behavioral Health Organization for training, and then subtract $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for professional services, CJTC training. A total zero impact to the current expense fund. Budget transfers, $150,000 transfer out from treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue. $150,000 transfer in from treatment sales tax fund to the Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue, replacing the $150,000 from the Behavioral Health Organization. $14,500 revenue to current expense ending fund balance from Public Works ER&R for the Department of Emergency Management Vehicle number 00158 being returned to ER&R. $14,075 payment to Public Works from the Mason County Sheriff's Office Professional Services via current expense ending fund balance for labor and equipment for special investigation work completed in 2017 for a total impact on current expense fund of $178,075.
Item number 8.2, approval to authorize the county engineer to execute the AARP Community Challenge 2018 application for sidewalk project on Old Belfour Highway, as well as approval to authorize the chair to sign all pertinent documents for the project. Item number 8.3, approval to authorize the Deputy Director of Utilities and Waste Manager to approve amendments number 2 for the construction services by HDR Incorporated for the Eels Hill Improvement Project. Item number 8.4, approval of warrants and treasurer electronic remittance. Claims clearing funds. Warrants number 8055100 through 8055363 for the amount of $1,051,595.60. Treasurer's electronic remittance on March 2018, $1,864,209.82. Approval, item number 8.5, approval to set a public hearing on Tuesday, May 8, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the 2017 current use open space application and correcting the 2011 current use application from Dwayne Rogers.
Item 8.6, approval to extend vendor contracts for Mendoza's Texas Style Food and North Mason Little League contracts for 3 years from 2018 through 2020. Item 8.7, approval of the resolution to adopt the Mason County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Item 8.8, approval of the amended prisoner housing contract between the Mason County Sheriff's Office and the City of Shelton. Item 8.9, approval to amend the rental contract for the Mel Chevrolet Building for facilities, Sheriff's Office evidence, and Mason County Search and Rescue. And item 8.10, approval to purchase a new pump from Greenwich Engineered Products Incorporated to replace a failed pump at the Tacoma Lift Station for the North Bay Sewer System.
Commissioner, now that we've read that into the record, you'll be given an opportunity to ask questions that may help you decide whether to have something taken off for a separate vote. Before we do, Dave, we had a discussion of pulling something off, but since it's just to set the hearing and we've already had those discussions and we're starting to have discussions with the Sheriff's Department, are you still inclined to have that taken off for a separate?
I can answer, I can posit a couple quick comments.
Okay, then we'll need to take it off. We're going to do comments. Okay, with that, does anybody have any questions that would help them to decide? Are there any items anybody would like taken off for a separate vote? Then we will take off item number 8.1 for a separate vote. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of today's action agenda items 8.2 through 8.10.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the action agenda items 8.2 through 8.10. Any further comments or discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Item number 8.1, approval to set a public hearing on May 1st, 2018, 9:30 a.m. to consider the following. Supplemental request, $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue for North Mason School Districts for school resource officer. $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for salaries and benefit patrol overtime. $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from behavioral health organization for training. $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for professional services CJTC training. Total zero impact. Budget transfers, $150,000 transfer out from treatment sales tax fund to the Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue, $150,000 transfer in from the treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's revenue, replacing the $150,000 from behavioral health organization. $14,500 revenue to CE ending fund balance from Public Works ER&R and for DEM vehicle number 00158 being returned to ER&R, and $14,075 payment to Public Works from Mason County Sheriff's Office professional services via CE ending fund balance for labor and equipment for special investigation work completed in 2017. Total $178,075. If anybody has any question first, then is there anybody who would like to testify and make a statement?
Morning, Commissioners. We had talked in the last few days in conversations with Frank Pinter and Sheriff's Office, and we wanted to make clear that this isn't a $150,000 lump sum payment to the Sheriff's Office. This is under the same rules and policies that we do the other funds that come out of the mental health, or actually it's the treatment sales tax fund. So it's a payment by voucher, and there's a small set of deliverables that we're looking for. This will expand the use of mental health ARMP in the jail, And with that expansion of the ARP services, there's a wealth of information we can get from that for community planning. There's a little bit of misinformation out there that this is just a cash payment, and it's not. They're deliverables. They're very similar to the other organizations that we work with out of this fund all the time.
Ask a question. So what you're requesting is that rather than call this a budget transfer, it be a reimbursable allocation
Up to the 150. yes.
up to $150,000.
But it would still be a budget transfer, though. We still have to record.
You're right. So it'll go from one bars to another, and those have been set up,
Yeah.
and they'll just be billed against that.
Yeah, in order to do that, we still have to do the budget adjustment. Am I correct?
But it wouldn't be a transfer into the Mason County Sheriff's Office.
Right.
So what you're asking for is
They fall into the same guidelines as the rest of them, where we
Right.
get monthly or quarterly billings.
I get that piece. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out if we would change the motion here. And you have a bars line?
Yeah, we have bars lines identified for those, yes.
Frank, please.
If I may, to modify the language, and maybe is just to eliminate the word transfer out, or eliminate the word out, and just do a transfer from treatment sales tax. And then 150 transfer and eliminate the word in. From
Should we
treatment
change
sales.
up to?
And say up to 150,000.
That actual 150,000 and as a miscellaneous income in jail, but you can say transfer in from mental health fund just in the system. I don't know why, because that's the way it was sent over in December.
Please. Good to get an opportunity. All right, did you wonder?
I'm curious, and so you've been having conversations with, I saw you speaking with our undersheriff, and I assume that there's more discussion that needs to happen between now and the hearing date.
Right, so one of the things we're working on especially is around the deliverables, in that the sheriff's office doesn't actually provide the information for the deliverables. That will actually go to the contract. The ARP will have to track those and report those. But it will come up through the jail system and then back to us.
And if I can, just want to remind all of us, I'm sure we already know this, but this is just to schedule the hearing. We don't have to have the exact words at this point. As long as we have them fixed within the hearing, we are,
Okay.
well,
Well, I'd be willing to amend the motion. I don't know if that serves
make a
purpose, but
motion?
it is more. Pardon?
yeah, right now we don't even have a motion, but you can make a motion to amend the verbiage if you like. And then we make a motion to accept that and then
I don't
pass
mean to
it
mention,
on.
we did make the motion at the prior, and it got taken off, I get it. Okay, so, is there more discussion? Is there anybody else that'd like to testify? I guess is your question.
No, yeah. Is there anybody else who would like to testify at this time?
Well, I think, as we spoke, as long as we set the hearing and the amount, I know I was still trying to track down with Jessica what the actual BHO money entailed, if it was a contract or tax or kind of thing. And then when I looked at the other one, I noticed it went in our budget or in units as a miscellaneous income. So there's some solar's logistical.
And that stuff we
But
can
yes,
fix unless you
right.
want to testify.
We don't have to have until you have the hearing on May 1st, the actual lines that it's going to go in and out of.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move for the approval to set a public hearing on May 1st, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the following. Supplemental request, $80,000 to current expense Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from North Mason School District for School Resource Office, and $80,000 appropriation, or negative, is so negative, I'm not sure how to say it, negative $80,000 to current expense Mason County Sheriff's Office for salaries and benefit patrol overtime. $1,000 to current expense Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from the Behavioral Health Organization for training, an expense of $101,000 to current expense Mason County Sheriff's Office for professional service criminal justice CGTC training, for a total of $0 impact, and a budget transfer of up to $150,000 transfer from treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue, and up to $150,000 transfer from treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue, replacing $150,000 from the Behavioral Health Organization. $14,500 revenue to the current expense ending fund balance from Public Works ER&R for Department of Emergency Management Vehicle number 00158 being returned to the ER&R, and $14,075 payment to Public Works from the Mason County Sheriff's Office Professional Services via current expense ending fund balance for labor and equipment for special investigation work completed in 2017 for a total budget impact of up to $178,075.
Second.
You got the easy part. Okay. I was hoping we were just gonna say that we're setting the public hearing. Okay. It's been moved and seconded for the approval to set a public hearing on May 1st, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the following. A supplemental request, $80,000 to current expense of Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from North Mason School District for School Resource Officer. Negative of $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for salaries, benefits, patrol. That shouldn't be that, though.
It's an expense.
Yeah, okay. Expense of, so I'll say that, expense of $80,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for salaries and benefit patrol. $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue from Behavioral Health Organization for training. An expense of $101,000 to current expense, Mason County Sheriff's Office for professional services, CJTC training, for an impact of $0. Budget transfers, up to $150,000 transfer from treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue. Up to $150,000 transfer from treatment sales tax fund to Mason County Sheriff's Office revenue, replacing $150,000 from BHO, Behavioral Health Organization. $14,500 revenue to CE ending fund balance from Public Works ER&R for DEM vehicle number 00158 being returned to the ER&R. $14,075 payment to Public Works from Mason County Sheriff's Office professional services via the CE ending fund balance for labor and equipment for special investigation work completed in 2017 for a total impact of $178,075. Is there any further comment or questions?
Mr. Chair, I would just say, in particular on the treatment sales tax and BHO transfers, this is something that has kind of plagued us for the past 5 months, trying to get this right. And, you know, I think, you know, if it wasn't such an important thing, it would be kind of comical. But I think we need to make sure that we're communicating properly across all the offices, and that we're all clear as to what the dollars are, where they're from, what they could be used for, and the reporting required on that. You know, we have 3 weeks to get this right after 5 months of going back and forth over what's going to fund what from where. You know, so I certainly would never stand in the way of putting on a public hearing to get public input on something, but it's my hope that we can get all of this resolved finally here on May 1st.
Hear, hear.
Okay. No further comments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item number 9, other business, department heads, elected officials. Are there any department heads or elected officials who would like to speak at this time? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 10. There are no hearings, so item number 11, board reports and calendars. Commissioner Schutte, if you would mind going first, followed by Commissioner Drexler, and then myself.
Sure, Mr. Chair. One big highlight from last week, yesterday, really, I thought we had a very productive meeting with the Department of Ecology concerning the North Ranch facility out in Union and their proposed lagoon for storage during the winter and raining months. You know, I think they put together a presentation that really showed you know, that there are some efforts being made to improve safety at the facility, in particular protecting water quality and all the things that go with that. And so I was really grateful for Ecology having a prompt response to our request for them to come in and meet with us and explain where they are in the process and talk about what this project means for that facility and really for the residents of the county. So I was really grateful for that, and I hope people will take advantage of the presentation that's online. And I know that our staff will be working to put Ecology's presentation on our website as well. So just really grateful for that. Moving forward this week, after today's meeting, I'll be meeting with Kathy Haig, talk about Housing Authority, I'm sure, and she had some success in the legislature this year to clarify the relationship between counties and housing authorities. So look forward to catching up on that. Following that meeting, I'll be sitting down with the interim director of the EDC, Jim Toomey, to talk about his new role and some of the issues that he'll be taking on as interim director there. Then this afternoon, I'll be at the MACECOM board meeting. It's among many other things, as we heard, Shellfish Week, Library Week. It's also National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So it's kind of fitting that we have a MACECOM meeting, and so I'll have a chance to stop in and say thanks to all of our 911 dispatchers. Then for the rest of the week, have a Mason Transit Authority agenda meeting. I'll also be talking to the folks that are going through the process of the RFP for housing and coordinated entry grant money through the county, as well as meeting with the Lilliwap Community Club. And then I'll finish the week at the State Building Code Council in Olympia, and then back on Monday for briefings.
Okay. I will be meeting the Hood Canal Quarrying Council Integrated Watershed Planning Steering Committee is reviewing the near-term actions for final recommendation to the board. And then I have a meeting with both the joint, it's the agenda setting, immediately followed by the regular business meeting of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. I'm meeting with our new director of the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging, and I welcome Nicole Cadu, who comes to us from Arizona's Arizona Regional Area Agency on Aging, up here to Washington to take over that organization. It was a long search. It took a long time to get somebody in place, but I think we have a phenomenal new director. I will also be meeting with Jim Toomey, the interim director of the Economic Development Council, and then back here for briefings on Monday.
Okay, I met, first of all, I want to make comment on the Department of Ecology meeting. It was a very good meeting. There was some stuff that came up that really helped us to clarify what was really happening there. First of all, the thing that was made very clear is the site is already permitted. That's not what's at question right now. It is the creation of the holding pond, and I was impressed with how much of a reduction in nitrates they've already had in the last few years compared to what it had been historically, and the idea that this pond is actually being built to even lower it further. And I don't want to lose that factor or that idea, but I was surprised to find out the only thing that we have any call on now is just the land clearing and the excavation for the pond. With that being said, last week I met with Jim Toomey. I met with Mr. Lewis also. I had a meeting with the Department of Natural Resources and Pacific Northwest Salmon Center. I had a meeting with a gentleman who really liked to talk to us about, he is some type of a facilitator that pulls organizations together when they are having issues. I also attended Mason Transit Authority policy meeting, Allen Community Association meeting, Women Are meeting, Lincoln Day dinner, our briefings, and then Port of Allen meeting. I have, after this, I will be attending the Law Library, the Housing Coalition meeting, a PTSA meeting, the ARC meeting, a meeting for Sergeant's Oyster House, a Democrat meeting that's occurring. I'll be meeting with former Commissioner Mary Jo Cady on some issues. With the North Mesa School District in regards to the school fields. I also have our briefings, the EDC meeting. Please explain to me the TST, because I'm doing that for you, and I have no idea what it means.
There is a orientation to people who will be applying for the treatment sales tax monies, and it's just an orientation about the application process, and would like the Todd Parker, who directs that fund, would like the commission to be able to emphasize to the applicants our goals and hopes for that, for any work that is funded by that tax.
Okay. So I will...
Thank you for stepping in for me.
Yes, and I'll also be attending the Trails In meetings that they are having, And I think that brings us back to briefings, and we start all over again. I do need to let the commissioners know I will not be here on Tuesday. My wife has surgery's been scheduled, so I will be attending that. So
I forgot how to use a gavel.
Just like riding a bike.
I'm sure it'll come back quickly.
I do want to say my piece on the, or at least my thoughts, if it's okay.
Please,
Commissioner,
yes.
On the briefing we had yesterday from Department of Ecology. I spoke with some of the people from the public who had attended, and it's, regardless, I feel like there's a thought that the whole Webb Hill production facility could, or the facility could be shut down totally. And that's what they're asking us to do. And I feel badly that people are not acknowledging the processes that we use, or that the state, that the federal government and county governments use to permit facilities. And it makes me a little bit sad that sites have been blinded to the improvements in an effort to shut down something that is regionally very necessary. If you have a septic tank, you need this thing. I mean, and I think that's 25,000 or 65,000 people in this county.
I think 26,000.
26,000 people in
lot.
this county. So I feel like there'll never be a good outcome one way or the other, whether it not be allowed to build a holding tank or either way. There will not be a good outcome either way. And so it's one of those situations, as people consistently tell me, you never make everybody happy in this job, and this is going to be one of those, however it works. But I am thinking whatever can be done to reduce the nitrate levels, and this is a phenomenal way to do it, one of the only ways, and still be able to have our septage treated, then, to me, I'm inclined to think this is a good thing. And I know that will take the ire of a lot of people, or cause ire in a lot of people's minds.
Which is actually sad, because we asked the questions and it was made clear it's not in our wheelhouse. We don't have any control over it. Matter of fact, it was already approved. All that stuff has already happened. They will have an opportunity to comment again in a year and a half if they choose to comment, but then they explained to us, Ecology did, that they're basically pre-approved again. They're just up for a renewal. It's not that they actually have much of a chance of changing any of that anyway. If they were not to be there, the thing that got me was if they did not exist there, that our dump rates would increase up to $1,000 per septic to have it pumped.
And it's almost a NIMBYism thing, because if that one were not to be able to take biosolids, or whatever they call it, the nice word they use, then it would just mean a function of having to build one someplace else. Because as we saw from the chart, 15 million gallons is the highest amount being even accepted anywhere in a 65, 85 mile radius, I think. And so it would mean there's no place to take it.
Well, particularly we asked, what the alternatives would be. And the alternatives were pay a lot of money to upgrade our wastewater facilities, which would mean a cost on residents for sure. One of the other options that is really kind of a non-starter is you could have individual pumpers having their own spray fields, which would be essentially you'd be creating many, many more North Ranch facilities, particularly possibly in the county, but elsewhere as well. So it's a tough situation, and I thought Ecology laid out a good set of facts regarding how this does improve safety and how ultimately they're the permitting authority, not us.
And I want to point out that $1,000 number did not come from them. That was our staff that presented that and shocked us with that. That's what the cost would be. There was a couple things I may have left off. I don't know if I mentioned the Economic Development Council meeting, but I'm also meeting with Kevin Schmelzer, and he's got some ideas. He's ready to come back.
I'll be meeting with him as well.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what he comes up with. He's been very successful when he did it before. I can't wait to see. Is there anything further come before this commission?
No.
Okay, we're at the end of our agenda. If there's no objection, we'll adjourn. No objection.
No objection.
We are adjourned.